Oh, Mama, I'm in fear for my life from the long arm of the law. Lawman has put an end to my running, and I'm so far from my home. Oh, Mama, I can hear you crying. You're so scared and all alone. Hangman is coming down from the gallows, and I don't have very long. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter, coming to you fresh in 2019. How was your New Year, buddy?
Good. Always good.
Good.
Always ringing in the new year with optimism, and got my New Year's resolutions that'll all be broken in a week. Having Special K every morning or something. I'm sure I won't do, but
Well, if you have it with the strawberries, it's not so bad.
or bananas,
Yeah.
like they did on Saturday Night Live. But your New Year's always a fun time. Christmas done. My birthday coming up. It's always I turned 23. It's always a good time of the. Okay, I turned 42. I'll admit my age in public here. Date myself. So always a fun time. So and then, to be honest with you, I'm almost pretty much ready for winter to be done and spring training to start.
Oh, no kidding. I mean, let's not rush through the Super Bowl, because that period between the end of the Super Bowl and when the snow finally melts is just like torture.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, and last year in particular, with the March and April snowfall we had, I do think spring continues to start later. I don't know. I don't recall it being that way when I was younger, but
Right. Well, up in
more
Duluth
evidence
it was.
of more evidence of global warming, I guess.
Up in Duluth, springtime used to hang on till,
July
May.
4th?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I tell you what, I just, when I was younger, I remember there's always snow deer hunting, and our lake would freeze over by Thanksgiving. It
Right.
seems like that's later now, but it unthaws later and up in the Grand Rapids area. But again, maybe my memories as a kid are just kind of off on the timeline. But I seem to remember doing all the spring chores in April. But I have had a few times where opening fishing, I've had a few snowflakes come down on me at that, second Saturday in May.
Oh yeah, that's not out of the ordinary at all. But hey, I mean, maybe a little global warming would be good.
Maybe in 2019 that won't happen.
We'll see.
Hey, after last year, Mother Nature owes us one.
That is
She
true.
owes us a spring, okay?
Yes.
We're a spring in debt.
Yeah, I don't know. We're almost arguably a summer in debt as well. That
Yeah.
was
And let me tell you something,
Yeah.
too. Notice now, December 21st was the winter solstice.
yes.
So the days will slowly start getting longer.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of getting dark at 4:39, it'll be 4:41 pretty soon,
Yeah.
and then 4:43, and then,
Yeah.
by the time 4 months goes by, Or daylight savings is earlier now, isn't it? In March sometime.
Sometime in March, I think. Yeah, and temperatures have been okay. Nothing too terrible yet, but it looks like January 1st, according to what I see, we're going to start the new year out right at -1. So we got that to look forward to.
Yep. I mean, always January, always the coldest month. It'd be the coldest month. In fact, the day I was born, one of the coldest days in the history of Minnesota, and you'd have to know that.
Yeah.
Vikings lost the Super Bowl the day before. The last time they were ever in the Super Bowl, January 9th, 1977. I was born the next morning. I laid a curse on them that they'd never win. And you will see this year, of course, my curse will continue. As I predicted it would last year, while all you guys with horns on your head actually thought they were going to the Super Bowl. But we all know that just is not happening with the Vikings.
Yes, it is never going to happen. I have a feeling. I don't know. These teams that didn't even exist last time the Vikings were in the Super Bowl, and they're going multiple times, and we're just kind of out of luck. So, what you gonna do? It is what it is, and that just kind of goes with being a Minnesota sports fan. It doesn't matter the sport. It's just one continual letdown. They either do very bad or they do just good enough to hook you, and then they they disappoint you in the end. So, yeah, that's why it's better to be maybe. I guess I can't say that. Politics in this state is just as depressing.
By the way,
Yeah.
the opening song, what the hell was that?
That was Renegade by Styx.
Styx. S-T-I-C-K-S?
No, STYX.
Oh, like in excess.
Right.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure. Like the river Styx.
Okay. Where's that?
That's what is that Greek mythology or Roman mythology? It did, you know, you had to cross the river
Zeus?
Styx, and you were supposed to pay the ferryman. When somebody died, they like put coins over their eyes to pay the ferryman to take them across the river Styx. Instead of letting them be in limbo, that took them into the realm of the undead, or not undead, whatever. I don't know. I don't follow it. That's not my creed. But generally, that's kind of the tale. Anyways, yeah, Renegade, great song, except for the Pittsburgh Steelers kind of taking it on as their own. That kind of upsets me a little bit, but
I like the Steelers.
yeah, you would. You tend to like all those teams that I don't know. There's like no surprise. You don't like the Patriots so much.
No,
that makes
no,
me
I
happy.
don't. No, I don't.
Well,
But I am
yeah.
a dynasty supporter. I don't like parody. I
Yeah.
don't like mediocrity, because
Right.
that's what I call it. And I've got my ideas on how to make that happen in sports, which I won't get into. But you have to respect an organization that's basically won for the last 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
And you just, even if it's grudgingly, you just kind of have to respect that.
Right.
Now, New England bothers me because I think they think they're above laws and above rules and, things like that. It's just always a good weekend when they get beat.
Yeah.
And I get tired of the man crushes on a
Yeah.
certain quarterback and things like that. But, that being said, yeah, I mean, if I think about my favorite college team, most of my life has been USC in football. So I guess
Right.
that night against Texas, when they lost that Rose Bowl, when they had Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart and Vince Young, maybe this day the greatest football game I've ever seen.
Okay.
I mean, I was up at my cabin when I saw that. I got up there specifically for that game. I could watch it completely alone, and I didn't miss a play the entire time. Even to go get my pizza in the oven, I didn't miss. That was when TiVo was like new and you could pause live TV or whatever
Yeah.
it was. But that is probably the greatest football game I have ever seen. And yet my team got beat, and they never were the same after that as a school. So
Yeah, I don't know. Reggie Bush did okay in the NFL with the Saints. Matt Leinart, went to the Cardinals, and
yeah, he kind of bottomed out.
Yeah.
Well, Bush did better, I thought, with Miami and Detroit. But
Right.
with the Saints, I don't think used him right. But interesting thing about Reggie Bush, I think he never got more than like 220 carries in a season.
really.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of and he was never just in a situation where he got the ball 25 times a game. You could see what he could do.
Right.
So I don't know.
Anyhow.
Politics in the state, yeah, is it just as depressing? Yeah, it's just as depressing.
Yeah, which is kind of leads from our song into today's
Yeah.
topic. Oh, mama, I'm in fear for my life from the long arm of the law. The hangman's coming down from the gallows, and their name is the League of Minnesota Cities. Oh my word. I mean, you and I have been looking over the 2019 city policies that they're proposing that they go and fight for over in St. Paul. Their administrative action plan.
Now, who are these jokers?
League of Minnesota Cities is a group.
Now we know who they are.
Oh, okay.
Our audience is smart. We don't need to explain that to them. But, okay, well, we can. I mean,
You never know. Somebody can be joining us for the
True.
first time.
I mean, they are an independent organization.
They're so independent. They're
I
so
meant that
independent.
mockingly.
It would blow your mind
Huh.
how independent they are. It is a group supposedly nonpartisan, supposedly independent, but really filled with a bunch of city administration type people. All the cities in Minnesota, except 3, belong to the League of Minnesota Cities. They were created to to be there basically as an insurance policy for cities that got into legal trouble, to provide insurance to help them along with the legal process, and have grown into so much more.
Well, and you know, can't cities organize
Sure.
their own insurance policies if that's their reasoning
Right.
for being in the league? Because I mean, one thing we should mention, this organization is funded with our tax dollars. All the cities are charged dues, which is where the cities get their money. I mean, they don't print it, they don't borrow it from China, they get it from citizens.
Yeah.
There's a formula, a per capita, I don't remember it, but it's on their website somewhere, doesn't matter. And they're paying all this money to be part of this lobbying group. It's really a lobbying group is really what they are, speaking or thinking they speak for cities. Now, you mentioned that this is organized by, we're talking more about their legislative agenda for 2019. Which if you looked at theirs for 2018 and 17 and 16 and 15 and 1863 and 1891, probably pretty much very, very similar in what they're advocating for. Now the question becomes, who puts this agenda together, and how does it form? Because this isn't written by, Joe Schmo, a councilman. Clearly,
No.
it's been looked over by legal types. And but where does this agenda come from? Who gives the league the authority to advocate for what we're going to talk about here on the behalf of 853 cities in the state?
Well, one would argue that it doesn't start in Minnesota at all, but that it
One would argue
begins
that.
with a group called the National League of Cities out of Washington, D.C.
Okay, let me stop you right there.
Yes.
So then this agenda is not about Minnesota. It's not about Minnesota cities. It's about a bigger agenda being pushed somewhere else by somebody else, whoever the hell that is.
Right. I mean, they're not going to say that. They list in this guide, in fact, all of the people that served on these policy committees.
LMC.org, by the way, is
Yes.
where we're at.
They say that city officials from across the state are recruited throughout the year to serve on these committees.
So they get who they want.
Yeah, they go recruit who they want. Over 150 city officials participated in 2018 in these policy committees. They say that they're considered, discussed, and revised annually with considerable member input. Oh, so the members
That they
give
recruit.
input to what?
Well,
Well,
now
yeah.
you say city officials, that elected and unelected, I'm guessing.
Yes, yes, they are elected and unelected, elected and appointed, elected and hired in some situations, in most situations. If it's not a city administrator or city manager, it is somebody that city manager or city administrator hired onto city staff. Whether that's a treasurer or whether, a treasurer could be elected depending on the city, but your statutory A cities, they could be elected.
Finance person, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. But at any rate, they get, excuse me a moment, they get this big bulk of stuff that, they're talking about at the level of the National League of Cities, and it's up to them to kind of Minnesota-fy it a bit.
So is this the same kind of policies we would see in Wisconsin, in North Dakota, in Texas, and Alabama, and
Well, aren't we?
Timbuktu, and, huh?
Aren't we already?
Well, pretty much, but
I mean, when you talk about things like transit-oriented development, when you talk about things like getting greater funding through grants and through taxation and forms of taxation, we're already seeing these things all across the country, and it's not by accident.
It's not?
No.
Well, I thought everything happened by accident. Okay, well, I mean, here's the thing, and what we're gonna talk about, however they found this, I mean, they have this relations staff that I mean, I don't know how you start here, then you got these committee members, whoever they are, there's a lot of them. Man, Jason, your tax dollars are going to a lot of people here.
Yeah, well, somebody's getting my money and it's not me. I'll tell you that right now.
All right, but let's talk a little bit about what they are advocating for. Now,
Yeah.
look, folks, I mean, you can find this, like I said, at lmc.org. We're not going to read it to you here. We could spend the next 12 shows going one by one through this stuff. I mean, we really could. And we could do it with any of these groups, Jay. Any mayor's association, any school boards association, county association, metro cities, you name it. They all have their side groups who do their lobbying.
Yes.
Whether it's their lobbying or not. I mean, here's the thing. These cities independently get together. Actually, they don't independently get together. Staff and city members are selected to join this, to make one-size-fits-all policies across the state. I mean, is that fair to say?
Yeah, and in fact, if you look at the very beginning of this, it's got the title of the document, League of Minnesota Cities 2019 City Policies for Legislative and Administrative Action, adopted November 15th, 2018. Then it goes on to say, the only comprehensive statewide advocacy agenda for all Minnesota cities.
Okay.
So again, if you're in War Road, would you say that your city is the same as Litchfield? Would you say your city is the same as Moose Lake? Would you say that your city is the same as Austin or Pipestone? No. Every different area of the state has different challenges that they face. And all of those that I just mentioned are different than being in Sunfish Lake or being in someplace like Marine on St. Croix or being in someplace like Minneapolis.
Right.
It's all different.
Right, and we've argued for a long time about these cookie cutter policies and how the same thing with the same things everywhere. Roundabouts, high density housing, complete streets. I mean, again, I don't want to go down the line because we've done that a million times. But this is just basically more evidence of the same thing. I mean, it's pretty much, more evidence of what we're talking about is pretty much what this is. So, I mean, but I want to just, I don't even know where to start, but I want to start this on, if you're following along, Jay, on page 13.
Okay.
Where it gets into private property rights. Now, there's some buzzwords here that people like you and me would notice that I'm not sure everyone would notice.
Yes.
Now, look where it says, state law must continue to provide cities with the tools needed to balance the rights of private property owners. This is pretty much about eminent domain, if I can, and its use, its limits, things like that. State law must continue to provide cities with the tools needed to balance the rights of private property owners with the interests of the public. Stop you right
Wow.
there. Stop right there.
Yeah.
Anytime I hear balance private rights, which you take an oath to uphold, with the interests of the public,
Yes.
let me tell you how I interpret that. Now, you tell me where I'm going wrong, if I'm going wrong.
Yes.
They want the definitions to be so broad, so undefined. They want interests of the public to be in the eyes of the beholder,
Yes.
to the point where your private property rights are not sacred. They are expendable
Yes.
when anybody can make a case that the public good, whatever that means, because I could use that, if you want to say public good,
Right.
that really can be abused.
I mean, look at all the eminent domain issues that occurred before Kilo.
Well, right,
And since.
Minnesota's law that preceded or supplemented that
Yeah,
in 2006. That
Right.
we passed a law kind of redefining eminent domain. Yeah, I mean, basically, public good, as long as that remains a vague thing, you can make the case anything's a public good.
right.
From a endangered species to, fluoride in the water to, a
Right.
school, a hospital, a drunk tank facility. I mean, what?
Yeah, a transgender bathroom.
Right. I mean, public transit. I mean, where is the end to what a public good should be and shouldn't be? Shouldn't private property owners have a clear, defined situation?
Yes.
And where everybody knows the law, it's applied equally. Isn't that what we should be? And that is the opposite of what they're arguing for.
Right.
The League of Minnesota Cities opposes legislation that diminishes the ability of cities to act in the best interests of health, safety, and welfare, that increase the cost of doing business for the public good. Now, again, think about what they just said right there.
Yes.
In other words, the Constitution be damned. We oppose the legislation that diminishes any ability for cities to not engage in doing what they think, what 5 people on a council think is best for the health, safety, and welfare.
Right.
No.
It's-
Wow, eye-opening.
Yeah, it is. It's not American. I mean, you take a look at like Canada or Europe right now, and I know this isn't a property issue. This is more around freedom of speech issue, but a lot of the hate laws that they put in have really constricted Christian churches from being able to teach about certain subjects that are part of their faith. And putting pastors and people in jail that preach about things like homosexuality and things like that. Now we take that into the way that America sees justice. And if you look back at the Declaration of Independence, it says that these things have been given to us by our Creator. These are rights that our Creator gave to us. The right to life, liberty, and property is the way that it was written. And because of slavery, they changed it to the pursuit of happiness, but that is the acquisition of property.
Right.
And then we take a look at something like the Ninth Amendment, where it basically says that your freedom goes up to the point that it affects somebody else's freedom. So you should be allowed to acquire property in so much that it does not affect somebody else's freedom. That's when it becomes a public issue, is when your freedom crosses the line into affecting somebody else's freedom.
Now, I wonder how many people in Congress could even recite the Ninth Amendment. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, Congress breaks that amendment every day.
Oh, every day.
So, I digress here. I go on. The League supports legislation that empowers local elected officials to determine whether a particular taking of a property serves a public purpose. Now, you talk about a broad definition that has no end.
Right.
So Renee Bowman, Mark Hoffman, and Joe Sultan, we're going to trust them to decide by their definition,
Yeah.
taking of a public, remember, look at the words they said,
Yeah.
taking.
Yes.
So I seize that property by any definition that I want, by any means I want.
Yes.
The League supports legislation that authorizes cities to use eminent domain for economic development and redevelopment projects that advance a greater public good that benefits the community.
Wow.
Now, wait a minute. Look what they said. Economic development.
Right.
Okay, that's not a school, a hospital,
No.
something like that. No, not a highway, nothing like that. Not a public
Right.
good the way we've always traditionally defined.
Well, think about it.
They're going to take a row of houses they don't like,
Exactly.
tear them down and rebuild them, kick everybody out.
Yeah. Again, look at the code words here.
Yeah.
Economic development. What does the Economic Development Authority in a city do? It takes property with taxpayer money demolishes it, and sells the property off at a loss to a
No.
developer who is going to create something that brings in more tax revenue. Supposedly.
Well, and again, if the city has, taken a loss on something, how in the world are they making it on something?
Right. They're not until 30 years down the line, and then
If they are.
if they are.
Now, you want to move on. Organized waste collection. What do you want to bet that, where do you think they come down on that issue?
I believe that they love it. That they go to bed at night thinking about organized garbage
yeah,
hauling
think of
and
all that
ways to
trash.
implement it. It's like the old Sesame Street song. I love trash. That's
That's garbage.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
The League of Minnesota Cities opposes efforts to apply inverse condemnation. The hell is that?
inverse condemnation.
What is that? Doing some condemnation something backwards? Oh, I see.
Finish the sentence.
Claims to city solid waste contracting decisions or to allow automatic contractual damage claims for solid waste haulers that lose competitive bids in organized communities.
Oh, so it wants the law to read that the small companies that are shoved out when somebody goes and does organized garbage hauling does not have legal recourse
Yes.
because of damage.
Right, they
and
can't
loss.
sue the city.
Right.
The league supports the current state policy that allows organized collection as a valuable tool of comprehensive solid waste recycling management. Blah, 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 blah. Of course, we're protecting the public safety here.
Oh, of course they are, because all of our suburbs
can't
are
rely-
just lined with garbage
We
right
can't
now.
rely on the private sector to
No,
do that. No,
The Twin Cities pretty much looks like a third world country where everybody lives in a garbage dump.
pretty much.
Yeah, no, this is just dumb.
Here's one of the little,
Yeah.
little pet issue of ours.
Okay.
SD24. Actually, one of the things that we first started talking about originally with Community Solutions, private well drilling.
Yes,
My old house in Crystal sitting on an aquifer that I can't access.
exactly.
Your house too.
Oh, I had a well, and they never told me that by city ordinance it had to be capped before I moved in. I moved in thinking I had a working well.
Okay, so let's see,
Yeah.
do they, so in other words, the league, of course, comes down on the side of not allowing people to
Well,
get off of city.
Of course.
Yeah.
You got to have government control of everything, including your drinking water.
The League of Minnesota Cities supports current law that authorizes cities, and of course, it's to protect public health, like stuffing fluoride in our water or something that cities do all the time.
Yeah.
And safety through local controls, regulation, or prohibiting private wells being placed within municipal utility service boundaries. In other words, they support the ability to prevent you from accessing water
Right.
on your own property. Now, wait a minute. Water, what every living organism needs to survive. Even a cactus out in Arizona needs water. And they're
Yes.
basically telling you you cannot access it
Yes.
unless you turn on the city faucet, pay the city bills, which go up every year. I mean, that's,
Right. I mean, the rain that falls out of the sky, I mean, the water that God gives you. Why would you want that when you can have this water that went through the treatment plant and had 1,000 pounds of fentanyl flushed down the toilet and affecting you? It's why not?
and just in case anybody wants to accuse me of being a conspiracy theorist when it comes to sustainable development, SD, does that stand for Sustainable Development? SD 25, Sustainable Development. The League of Minnesota Cities supports federal, state, and regional efforts, i.e. Met Council, to promote sustainable development where the effectiveness of the proposed practice is supported by sound science, in other words, whatever the UN says, and as long as these efforts do not supersede the authority of local governments to determine their own policies, blah, blah, blah. But of course, they want laws that the one-size-fits-all stuff is what they want anyhow.
Right.
The league supports sustainable development efforts in shifting public resources, services, investments, and purchasing power toward environmentally sustainable outcomes. Well, that's kind of a bold statement there.
Yes.
Promoting efficient and renewable energy sources. Hey, no matter what the cost, no matter what, we don't care, we're just going to promote it anyway.
Right.
Land use planning, we all know what that is. That's high-density housing, TOD,
Yeah.
mixed use. They don't say that, of course, but that's what's going to happen. Let's see, assisting and recognizing local governments take action to reduce greenhouse gases. Oh my God, carbon is in the air.
Yes, we must destroy it.
I'll tell you, you want to reduce carbon? How about we have a bunch of people hold their breath and just die out? Wouldn't that reduce carbon?
Well, that's what a lot of these guys want to do. They think that humanity is a virus and they want to
That's
get
right.
rid of many of us. So
Zero population growth.
Yes.
The eugenicists like Bill Gates. So yeah, of course, he gets to stay alive.
Oh, of
right?
course.
But, yeah,
We can't do without Bill Gates.
the rest of us.
He's a national treasure.
How about this, Jay?
Yes.
I'm skipping around here, but I'm going down to SD 46.
Oh, this is a good one.
Legalization of fireworks.
That's a bit of a deceptive title because they're not looking for legalization
No.
of fireworks.
And again, I'm baffled as to where this is a local issue. The League of Minnesota Cities opposes legislation that would further relax the ban on the sale and use of consumer fire. I got to make this print bigger. The League supports the repeal of the 2002 law that allowed certain fireworks, but not the booming kind that we used to have when I was a kid.
Yes.
Fees are needed to cover the cost with compliance checks. Compliance checks?
Okay.
Education? And inspecting relating to the use. So are they advocating for an extra tax?
I don't get it because right now, and I know this for a fact, in order for you to open a fireworks tent, the city sends the fire marshal out to inspect your tent.
Yes.
That has to pass inspection before you can even begin to sell a single firework. It already has to pass an inspection. What are they arguing for here?
They're arguing for another inspection, another fee. They want to be able to come in and shut it down, find an excuse to shut it down. That's ultimately, I think, what they want. Or pass legislation to outright ban it.
Well, it just states that further down. It wants to repeal the 2002 fireworks expansion.
Yeah, expansion. We start getting
Yeah.
the rights back.
Right.
Here's a really scary one.
We're going to go back to the land of snakes and sparklers, Andrew.
Well, I'll tell you what. Nothing like that on 4th of July. Pay $10 for a few sparklers that go for 15 seconds.
Yeah. Before you move on too far, were you going to go on to SD 47?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because I wanted to touch on
Well,
this
you
one.
go ahead and start then.
Well,
I've read enough. You go to this. This is one that really pisses me off.
oh, me too. Because we dealt with this a long time ago. In effect, when they in Minneapolis were setting up those stoplight cameras or the red light cameras, and those were deemed to be illegal. That they did not fully capture the whole story. You don't know if the owner of the car was driving the car. You don't know if there was a malfunction, this and that. They decided that these were not able to be used.
Even in Minneapolis,
Even in Minneapolis.
the People's Republic of
Right,
Minneapolis,
right.
more communistic than East Berlin.
Right. So that is, the issue here is that they want to be able to use cameras, traffic cameras, to not only identify when laws are being broken, traffic laws, but they want to use that photographic evidence to issue citations.
Right.
They say here, local law enforcement agencies, these are agencies, so we're talking local police, we're talking
Sheriff's office.
I suppose there are some roads where you would be looking into state troopers as well when you have a freeway that runs through.
Also, on Native American land, they have their own police forces.
Absolutely.
Too, on those.
Absolutely. So they want to have the express authority to use photo enforcement technology to enforce traffic laws. Local law enforcement officers should have the express authority to issue citations for traffic violations by mail where the violation is detected with photographic evidence.
That's absurd.
It's terrible.
I mean, don't you have a right to confront your accusers here in this country anymore?
Apparently not.
What, I can get something in the mail a month later saying I was, going 36 and a 30 and I can't contest it?
Yeah.
Or
Right. And where is it going to stop? Is it going to, you're going to have cameras set up? How many times did this person touch the white line?
Yes.
How many,
anything they can get money for is what you're going to have. You're going to have cameras. We're going to be a point where we're all going to be the Truman Show, at some point.
Yeah. Well, look at in China right now. Google has given the Chinese the ability to find somebody that has either broken a law or spoken out against the Communist Party, and to find them and apprehend them within about 20 minutes.
Huh, wow.
Anywhere.
Boy, think if that existed in Stalin's time.
Oh, my word. Well, like China's any better.
Yeah,
I would put you in a work camp.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, oh, goodness, excuse me.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, extremely bad in this regard. Here's another thing that kind of, I don't know. SD 52, drug paraphernalia.
Okay.
Now, let me just address this issue more broadly. I was a staunch opponent of legalizing drugs back in the day. There's a part of me that still is worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
I do think marijuana is a gateway drug. At the same time, first of all, hemp has a lot of uses that
A lot.
could be pursued, and President Trump actually has taken up some of this has been decriminalized under him on a federal basis.
Yeah.
States have their own.
Clothes, rope, they're all
Right.
made out of hemp. They're like oil for pain management.
And it was all made out of hemp
Yeah.
at one time. I mean, at one time, hemp was used and nobody cared.
Right.
So, but my question becomes, we've locked people up, we've tried to scare people, but it just seems like nothing we've done in the drug war has worked. And I'm a cost benefits guy. I can't continue to, although I've got my trepidations about it, and I'm worried that we go down this road, but it's inevitable that we do. However, I think locking people up for having a pipe in their car serves no public purpose whatsoever.
Right.
I mean, listen to what they say here. This is important. The league supports strengthening our current paraphernalia prohibition on drug paraphernalia. That means increasing the laws that we already have, including improving the definition of drug paraphernalia. In other words, they want to broaden its use and strengthen the penalties.
Right.
Now, I'm sorry, but what? First, I come back to, we're housing all these people probably in county jails, and then I'm sure they're going to bitch about the cost of that and want state aid for it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's leave that aside for a minute. But who comes up with something like this? It says, you know what the problem is? We got paraphernalia. We got somebody's got a Jerry Garcia shirt in there. We're wearing.
I don't think that's drug paraphernalia.
Yeah, but I mean.
Yeah.
But it's to me, paraphernalia is the definition of along with special counsels, are searches in search of a crime. Mm-hmm. I pull somebody over, and I'm going to find an excuse to look in their trunk.
Yeah.
This is where I'm going with this.
I get it.
To see what I can find.
Right.
Oh, I see you have a pipe in your. Well, that could be. That could house drugs. Now I need to search.
Right.
Everywhere here. I can find anything I want to. I can say whatever be. There could be nothing in there.
Right.
And that's quote unquote paraphernalia.
Right. Well, there are certain things that get sold at places like I'm not going to name the places, but they're able to legally sell these things as instruments for using tobacco, but the police are going to then turn around and use these as instruments of illegal drugs when it comes to catching somebody.
But I come back to this. If I can buy it,
right.
Why is it that I can't possess it? If I can buy I'll call it a water pipe. Okay. When I worked it down in the valley when I was in college, that's what I was required to call it.
Yes.
Okay, whatever. You put your tobacco in this, wink, wink. But if I am able to buy that at a place, let's just assume I'm 18 and I'm able to buy this, why is it illegal for me to have it in my car?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, if you can legally buy it.
I'm lost at these laws.
Now, this is where things get dicey, of course. If you're not using it for tobacco, you're going to find residue and things of the illegal substances in it. But then for you as a police officer to have the legitimate right to check that for those things.
Exactly. If you pull me over for speeding.
Sketchy. Yeah.
If I get pulled over for speeding and I got a pipe in my back seat, do you have the authority to go in there, take that pipe, look for certain, I mean, is that carte blanche to do that?
No. It's not supposed to be.
You know, so what if I had a can of beer in my back seat? Say it was unopened. I mean, do you have the right to confiscate? Oh, okay. Well, we're gonna. I guess you can nail somebody for a breathalyzer. I suppose you can do that anyway. But again, you're supposed to have right. But you're supposed to have it for. It's supposed to be just cause again.
Right.
I don't know. I'm just laugh at how you could buy something and then you get pulled over with it and you get cited or arrested for quote paraphernalia.
Right. Well,
where does it stop though? I mean,
it doesn't.
Here's the slippery slope.
Yeah.
I mean, can I use that as the justification for something else?
Shouldn't.
Right, but what stops anybody from that?
Well, and that's exactly it. I mean, look at the next one, SD 53, the regulation of massage therapists.
Oh yeah, that's another one we started with back in the old days.
Because Crystal had ordinances that you had to not only be licensed at this level, you also had to get a city license, and you had to pay to be inspected by the police and all of that. And it's already very hard to get into that business, and the League of Minnesota Cities supports the statewide registration or licensure of massage therapists that would not preempt the ability of cities to regulate massage therapy establishments. And the League also supports legislation pertaining to the practices of massage therapists under a number of different situations because they want to help cities establish legitimacy of providers. And they want to, I understand wanting to cut down on sex trafficking. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible business, and we need to do more to try and figure out how to do that. But
sex trafficking, human trafficking, any kind of that.
Nobody opens up a massage business under the pretext of, hey, come on in, wink, wink. We have all these underage people that we stole out of different countries. You're going to get found out. This is something that you have to go onto the dark web in a lot of cases to be able to locate, or you have to know the code language in order to locate. This is not done out in the open. And by having a legitimate establishment, you're not going to find in 99% of the cases, you are not going to find sex trafficking going on.
You know what it is?
It makes it harder for people to do business.
Right. It's like more gun laws. Looking at legal gun owners trying to find crimes. It's no different than that.
Exactly.
The people who are breaking the law are breaking the law. They don't care what the law is.
No.
Tell you what, you want to get how about we talk about smoking?
Yeah, let's do that.
Smoking.
Let's do that. As a couple of non-smokers, this is something that shouldn't bother us. But you know what?
Former smoker. I'll call myself a former one.
You should really hate it then. You should really hate it then.
I hate it. It's no Gouda.
Yeah.
Many cities have already passed ordinances banning the use of e-cigarettes in all public places to ensure uniformity and consistency across the state. Oh, but I thought we had local control.
Right.
The legislature should regulate under the MCIAA. What is that? The Indoor Air Act or something?
Yeah.
Okay. While preserving the rights of abilities of local governments to enact more restrictive ordinances. So, let me ask you a question, Jay. If we ban e-cigarettes, what would be more restrictive than doing that?
Death? Shoot on sight? I don't know.
I guess so, but I mean, banning it in public places.
Yeah. Suppose if they banned it inside, the city could choose to ban it outside as well. Ban it on private property.
Public places.
I don't know.
I mean, by the way, public place. Can I just explain something to these government types here? Public places. I mean, my rights don't end just because. First off, it doesn't belong to cities. This is the thing. They don't have. They don't. Cities don't own anything. They own it on the backs of the taxpayers. And my rights don't end. We're going to get into gun sales in a second here.
Yeah.
But, I mean, why is my Second Amendment right, Jay, optional simply because I'm in a park? If I'm in a park, does anybody take away my First Amendment rights or my Fifth Amendment rights or Fourth or Eighth? Are they off the table? Because I happen to be in a place funded by the taxpayers?
Yeah.
I mean, why is the second any less important?
It's not.
I mean, I think it's not a coincidence, too, that the right to bear arms is number 2. Mm-hmm. Right after freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, freedom of speech, the right to petition government. I mean, all
freedom
those.
of the press,
all those fundamental things.
Right.
What's next?
The linchpin of the whole thing.
The right to take up arms against a tyrannical government.
Yep.
Okay, that's next. That's not double jeopardy, not illegal search and seizure.
Not quartering.
Not quarantining soldiers. I mean, that comes next, which tells me how important the founders thought about that.
Yeah.
I mean, and we're going to get into conceal and carry and all that in a second, but I just come back to, we did a show when we talked about gun-free zones during the Parkland shooting and all that, and how gun-free zones have worked the opposite of how the people promoting the laws have intended them to work. I know when I go into a school, I want to shoot up a school, I can.
Yeah.
And I'm not arguing for armed guards at schools. It's not what I'm arguing. What I'm arguing is every school ought to take it upon themselves to do what they think is necessary. Maybe it is arming somebody for a short time.
Yeah.
But gun-free zones have created sitting ducks for somebody who wants to shoot something up. And they're going to find a gun. You want to do it, you're going to find it.
Yeah.
You want drugs, you're going to get them.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I just...
And just, I'm going to zip through these quickly because we do have other things we want to get to with guns and ranked choice voting and things like that. But this is interesting because we talked about it a couple podcasts ago, talking about write-in votes.
Yeah.
They want somebody to file their campaign at least 7 days in advance, and they do not want it mandatory for any of those votes to be reported on if you get fewer than the least amount of registered candidates. Isn't that nice?
So a write-in campaign's already hard enough.
Right.
We're gonna make it damn near impossible.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're talking about that. They want to shorten the time that is mandatory for campaign finance reports to remain online.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the League of Minnesota Cities supports increasing access to information through the use of city websites. The league also urges the legislature to revisit the length of time required to keep the reports online. Yeah. Yeah, you got it. Making it harder for people to participate. Of course, they do also push for an immediate restoration of felon voting rights.
Yeah,
as well.
I have mixed feelings on that one too.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, what they propose, I would not support.
Oh no.
I mean, it says, if incarcerated, the league supports restoration of voting rights to felons once they have completed the term of their incarceration. So the second Ted Bundy's let out of jail, he gets to go vote a month later.
Right.
I think there needs to be a probationary period. You know, if you boosted a car when you were 20 and you're now 35, I have no problem with that person voting.
Yep.
I have a problem with somebody voting immediately after being released, immediately while they're on. I think certain crimes, maybe non-violent crimes perhaps, but I think rapists and people who really never should get out of jail, people like that should never have their voting rights restored. You have to make some distinctions here.
Right.
I know, expanding that DFL base is important to these people. But I mean, the idea somebody can walk out of jail and walk into the voting booth, especially when you consider the elections we talk about.
Yes.
You know, the down the ballot stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know, I'm sure they get better cable in jail than I do. But I mean, do you want a felon walking out of jail and voting the next day?
No.
Shouldn't there be some sort of, okay, look, you don't reoffend in the next 2 years or 3 years? Especially if they're released early,
Yeah.
then okay. I have no problem with that person's rights being restored. But I have a problem with it immediately.
Yeah.
So I guess I kind of take the middle ground on this issue, but absolutely unequivocally would not support this.
Yeah. Well, also in that group is ranked choice voting. I know that's something we have talked about a lot on this show.
Where's the strychnine?
Right next to the arsenic, buddy.
Ranked choice voting. Now, Jay, did you know that statutory cities cannot adopt ranked choice voting?
I did not know that
I didn't either.
until I saw that in here.
So we are learning something.
That is good. You know, that is the majority of cities in this state cannot adopt it.
And I have to say, though, you and I are charter city supporters.
Absolutely.
And I agree with that.
And that does not change my view on becoming a charter city.
I agree, but it does change my view that the right people have to be in office. Now,
Well, we knew that all along.
I mean, so to me, this is tantamount to endorsing ranked choice voting. I mean, their legalese way they explain it,
Yeah.
it doesn't sound like that, but that's how I take that.
Mm-hmm.
That they would like to expand ranked choice voting. I mean, they got stuff on the presidential primary. I mean, what the hell is that? But I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
why is that something of okay, we went over I missed the firearms one, SD30. I want to go
Oh,
back to
okay.
this. We flipped over it here. I don't know what the SD stand for. It doesn't matter. Might as well just be sustainable development. The League of Minnesota's requests an amendment to the Citizens Personal Protection Act. Now, I believe that's conceal and carry.
Yes.
That would allow cities to prohibit firearms in city-owned buildings, facilities, and parks. The League supports clarifying The act state that a permit holder, under the terms of a permit, is allowed to carry a pistol-length firearm, but not a semi-automatic military assault
Oh
weapon.
my word.
Now, I can tell whoever wrote this has never fired a gun before, because your average handgun today is a
Yes.
semi-automatic. You don't reload. The gun automatically reload. In fact, it's been that way for a while now.
Yeah.
Your average Colt, your average whatever is a semi-automatic. You don't eject a cartridge and then reload it.
Yeah.
So what is a military style assault weapon?
Yeah.
So that's a big scary gun. That's a scary looking one.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So I have a permit, which I don't think I should need, by the way, to conceal and carry, yet I can't use it.
Technically, the permit is only to carry. It's not to conceal.
True.
Just thought I'd make that little distinction.
Well, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, you can technically open carry it. It's just probably better you don't.
Yeah. The league is not seeking to repeal the act, nor authority to prohibit legal weapons in parking lots or city streets and sidewalks. So, listen to this. The league also supports efforts by commercial property owners to clarify that the prohibition on restricting possession by tenants and their guests applies only to residential rental property.
Huh.
So what are they saying? That they want to ban your Second Amendment rights on rental property? I mean, that's still technically your property. I mean, police would need a warrant to come in. Just because you don't own it
Right.
doesn't mean that you're open to
Yeah, you still have reasonable
Fourth Amendment
expectations to
protections.
privacy. Yes, absolutely. So
but you don't have reasonable Second Amendment rights, apparently. Guess I shouldn't laugh. I mean, this, isn't that funny, but
right.
I want to move on here to state budget sustainability. FF3. Boy, I won't tell you what I think FF stands for. To ensure the stability.
Financial failure.
Yeah, fiscal failure, yep. To increase the stability of the state budget and avoid or reduce the impact of future, got to make this wording, but state budget deficits, the legislature should consider all options, including revenue increases, i.e. tax increases, with a particular focus on changes that increase states' revenues and improve the stability of the state's revenue stream. I love how they say these things without identifying what they're talking about here.
Yeah. Well, they can't.
Must not reduce funding for city property tax relief programs. Property tax, I'll tell you what, how about you cut government at the local level if you want to reduce property taxes?
That'd be great.
Must not accelerate the remittance of sales tax collections by retailers, including municipal liquor, blah, blah, blah. Must reinstate estimates of inflationary increases to expenditure estimates, i.e. baseline budgeting. How about this? Should continue to build at a minimum a 5% budget reserve. What does this have to do with local government?
I don't know. It really doesn't. I mean, they're looking to establish state budget stability as a state priority. Well, yeah, that's great.
There is no stability.
No.
I mean,
No,
come on. The idea
well,
that you can sit here and just
It's just making a case for the surplus being spent the way that they want it to. Because it says this includes prioritizing state budget stability ahead of sending back tax rebate checks, as was done in 2000.
i.e. So, in other words, we want to take all the money, spend it, that becomes the new baseline.
Yes.
So then they're going to expect more, whatever they got plus more in the next biennium.
Yes.
And remember what we talked about. 1 penny back in the state over taxation, not surplus, is tantamount to a tax increase.
Mm-hmm.
Improving fiscal futures. That is the thing that they're calling the FF.
Yes.
The League of Minnesota Cities supports a strong state-local fiscal partnership. In other words, cut us checks and we'll do what we want with them. They have response, accountability, certainty, adequacy, flexibility, and equity. Now, how can anything have all those things?
It can't.
How can you have flexibility and equity?
You can't. Or unless it's the flexibility to make things equitable.
Right, which results in equal misery.
Right. Well, I mean, on a good note, at least they're looking at cutting the funding to local government aid, right? Or maybe not.
I didn't even want to read the section on that. What is that one?
That's the next one down, FF4. Yeah, FF4 on page 112.
In order to reduce pressure on the property tax, well, why don't you cut spending then if you want to reduce that? Why don't you cut debt
Yeah.
if you want to reduce that?
Well, you can't do
knucklehead?
those things. You just need more money.
And tell me, what city is dying out there? I mean, if Minneapolis can survive, you tell me how some other city can't.
Yeah.
They just don't want
exactly.
to. They don't want to make tough decisions. They want the gravy train to keep coming. They don't want to have to, say no to anything. In order to reduce the pressure on the property tax and to equalize property tax bases, impossible. The league continues to support the existing LGA formula, which is like 50 years old. I think we've changed since then.
A little bit.
The league supports an increase of the LGA to the level that would have been provided prior to the 2003 cuts, when of course there were no cuts, there were cuts in the rates of growth.
Yeah.
The league supports acceleration of the annual LGA distribution. So to assist cities with cash flow needs. So if you're bad at managing money, they want the money sooner.
Oh, you missed the sentence that it said it did not want, or it does not support artificial limits on any city or group of cities.
Well, of course, well, why would they want that?
Yeah.
Try one more FF. Actually, two more. I know we're going to get short on time here, but FF17, tax hearing. It's bad enough that your taxes get jacked up every year, but listen to this.
Okay.
This is talking about, remember now, we talked about this. In September, they passed the preliminary all municipal governments.
Yes.
A preliminary levy in September, by September 30th, and they cannot go above that levy, but they can reduce it by December. Listen to what they want to do. Cities should have the authority to increase the final levy from the preliminary levy with the approval of the Commissioner of the Department of Revenue. Who is that, by the way? Anybody know who that is? So they want some bureaucrat to say it's okay.
Yeah.
Who cashes a government paycheck. To meet additional unforeseen and uncontrollable needs. Well, what the hell could that be? Including arbiter awards resulting from labor negotiations, the impact of new or federal or state mandates, and other non-discretionary budget factors. Yeah, I suppose there's a big lineup for that. Why don't you just bond it? I mean, why don't you just do that like you do for everything else? Tax hearing and notification should be carefully reviewed to ensure the legislative intent is reflected in these statutes. Yeah, whatever. You want it as broad as humanly possible so you can do what you want. Specifically, the league supports the following. Minnesota's modifying statute 275.065 to clearly and fully exclude cities of the population of 500 and under from budget and levy hearing requirements.
What?
So in other words, if you live in a city with 499 people, you don't have to have a hearing or required to pass a preliminary budget.
That's ridiculous.
That's incredible.
It's like, hey, you're not important because you're from a small town. You don't need to know where your money goes.
Right. I mean, if
What?
you have a 20% tax increase, we're not going to, you don't have to, how many cities are going to have a hearing if they don't have to?
None of them.
I mean, oh, you have to inform citizens within 350 feet of something. Well, how many cities go 351?
Yeah.
Zero.
And if you're from a small town, you're all of you, except for maybe 3, belong to the League of Minnesota Cities, and they don't care about you.
How about this one? Reinstating the exemption to a tax hearing and notification requirements for cities with more than 500 residents with a proposed levy increase below the implicit price deflator. The hell is that?
I don't know.
So if your tax increase is below inflation level or something, you don't have to have a public hearing?
That's the way it sounds.
Wow, what transparency you support.
Yes. Make it easier for government to do business and harder for the people who elect you to be able to keep up on what you're doing.
That is maybe the most outrageous thing we've read.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Read it one more time, because I want people to hear this and really think about what this says, because it is very important.
Modifying statute 275.065 clearly and fully excludes cities of a population of 500 and under from budget and levy hearing requirements. So a budget can get passed, you can get taxed, and you have no forum to go and talk about it.
Yep. Enjoy all that.
Just outrageous.
Yeah.
How about one more?
Okay.
FF22.
FF22.
I'm just smiling because I want you to get to it.
Oh, I can't wait. City Franchise Authority.
One of our favorites.
Yes.
The old franchise fee. Municipal authority to collect franchise-free revenues, i.e. taxes, from utilities is an important and equitable mechanism to offset the costs of maintaining right-of-way to generate a return on a publicly held asset. You want to call BS on that?
Yeah.
Municipal franchise authority must be preserved and should be expanded. To allow city policy priorities to be addressed through conditions in franchise agreements that have the cost covered by local ratepayers, where appropriate, can be accomplished within local franchise boundaries. I don't know how to fix that, or how to reword that. The league opposes adding one-size-fits-all notification requirements and a reverse referendum to the gas and electric franchise-free process. So they oppose a referendum to stop it.
Right.
I mean, is that how you're reading
that?
That
is how I am reading that.
In addition, in situations where a local provider decides to sell their operations, the city must have to have the right of refusal to purchase the assets of the utility.
Wow. So the city must have the right of first refusal to purchase the assets of the utility.
Yes.
So that means they get first dibs.
Right. And I'm sure buying something at a very low rate.
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
Municipal franchise authority must be preserved and should be allowed to expand.
Wow. Well, this is some good stuff, and we skipped over a ton of it.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, we're just grazing. I mean, this is 147 pages of pure drivel.
Yeah, pain. A lot of pain.
Yeah. It's from the way that city government is organized, to the way that human resources are run in the city, to airport planning and funding, to transportation and housing, and it is all in here. And this is how they want to drive the legislative agenda to allow greater power to cities, not when it comes to the city versus the state, but when it comes to the city versus the people. And there is something wrong with that.
It's to expand city government.
Yes.
not protect your rights through the city.
Yes.
You know, it's not like, okay, the federal government is trying to, take away your property, or the state government's trying to tax you to death, or whatever. We're not gonna come in, we're gonna come in, League of Minnesota is gonna come in and help them do it.
Yes. That is what they're proposing here. The only place where they come against the state government is when it's, hey, we want our money. That's really it. They demand that the state government come into line with the way that they want to do regulation. They demand that they have the right to regulate the people in certain ways, but when it comes to their money,
Oh, no.
the state better not keep them from it.
No way. Keep coming and keep coming. So let me tell you something.
Yeah.
How can you argue on the one hand that cities should be independent, and on the other, argue on the other hand that they should be dependent?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like they're saying both ways. We should be independent from the state, but we should be dependent on the state.
Yes. It doesn't work that way. It's
I mean, that's
never
like,
worked that way.
Yeah, that's like the Soviet Union with glasnost and perestroika.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to give people 5% of their freedom.
Yep.
And we're going to hold on to 95% of it. Doesn't work that way either. You're either free or you're not.
Right.
So,
That's exactly it. But you know what? It's okay. None of this is going to affect you. I mean, there's only 3 cities that don't belong to the League of Minnesota Cities. A lot of
chances
cities,
are you don't live in one.
a lot of cities send their new city council members to their trainings to learn this kind of stuff.
Well, it's free,
Oh, it's free. Yeah.
right? Free, it's free.
And why is it free? Because they have a chance to indoctrinate the incoming city council people and teach them how to go get the free money, what kind of regulations are going to bring about the kind of change that they want to see that are coming from Washington, D.C. and the National League of Cities. That's how it works.
Right. Here's the trends. Here's the new way of doing things. Here's what they're doing in this city, in this city, in this city.
Mm-hmm.
You better get on board. You better get on board. And Don King said, man, you better get on board. So, it's, I'll tell you what, you'd think, here's the thing, the shame of it is the League of Minnesota Cities is such an opportunity. The shame of it is the work that they could be doing.
Yeah,
That's the shame of it.
that is. They're making us come and do it. We could be doing so many other things.
Yeah.
But now we wasted over an hour talking about,
Did we waste it, though?
well, it's not,
We're
but
educating the public.
we are, but we shouldn't have to. They should be doing it right to begin with.
Yeah, they should be, but, we all know what's happened to government bureaucracy. I mean, it's just a monster in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Absolutely. So if you want to read more about this, because really, I mean, you have to understand what they're asking cities to ask for, because it's not going to just sit on this piece of paper and not be enacted, not be legislated, not be fought for, over at St. Paul. They are going there to lobby for these changes. And so go out to lmc.org.
Right, and I want to say something too.
Yeah.
There are people in the legislature, I won't say a lot, but there are some who were city council members who've been through this, who know what they're pushing, moving up the ladder, push it at the legislative
Oh,
level.
absolutely. A lot of these people
So
come
this-
from city councils
Right.
and they've been indoctrinated in this stuff.
Right, or in school boards, a lot of them come from whatever. So this agenda is not something unfamiliar to them.
Right. Yeah, not at all.
Was that depressing enough?
Oh boy, it was something, I'll tell you what. But yeah, I mean, read through the stuff, because I am telling you, it is there. And like we said, there's a whole bunch of stuff that we did not even cover. You know?
You can't cover it. It'd be a 2-week program if we covered everything.
Oh, absolutely. So I mean, it is everything. I mean, we didn't even get into smoking ban ordinances when we were talking about smoking. Their views on youth access to alcohol and tobacco, We didn't we didn't even touch on any of their improving local economy stuff.
Data practices,
yeah.
a whole section on that.
Federal employment law. Yeah, so there is a lot there to read. And so I encourage you guys just to go out to lmc.org and just take a look through this thing. It is called the 2019 City Policies for Legislative and Administrative Action.
Yeah, next time you're sitting on the toilet or something, because that's pretty much where this belongs,
Yeah.
you might want to stink up the bathroom by reading some of this as well.
This stinks more than anything you could do in the bathroom.
That's true.
so it's-
Even me. I could have bean dip and it wouldn't stink as bad as this.
Oh, goodness. Well, what to do with this stuff? One thing you can do is get on a city commission and do not recommend any of this stuff to your city council. Get on, and you heard it from us a million times, especially in the last podcast, get on these advisory commissions, fill them up, and make your voice heard. That is one thing you can do. Another thing is you can run, maybe if you have an odd year election, it's coming up here this year, 2019. If you have an even year election, it's coming up the year after, 2020, and it's important for you to get involved now. You cannot wait. The time is now, or we are going to lose every bit of freedom that we have. So let us know about, if you see any of these things in this document being talked about in your cities, let us know. And so whether you want to get involved that way, or whether you want to get involved by getting on a commission, get a hold of us. COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com. That is COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com. Say that 5 times fast, apparently.
Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear. Fuzzy, well, no.
Oh my goodness. So, there you have it. This is an expansive document by a group that has a lot of money and a lot of power.
A lot of your money.
A lot of your money. So get out there and do something about it. And let us know where you're winning, where you need help. We'll be more than glad to step in. Bring us out to talk in your area. We'd love to do it. Same email address. Just get a hold of us. All right. Well, we're going to be back in 1 week with another podcast. Another brand new podcast full of great information. We're on the countdown to 100.
That's right. 2019, our option was picked up. Contract renewed.
That's right.
We are in negotiations.
Stamped it myself.
That's right. We're the 3rd year. We're going to hit arbitration. We're working on a long-term deal right now.
We are more valuable. I tell you this. The highest paid NFL player, highest paid NBA player, it doesn't matter. More valuable. It's this
I would
information
agree.
we're giving you. So you need to run with it. Because we love you, Minnesota, but now it's your turn to get to work.
Take my life, caught a break between the lines. Don't let me be. If I get too caught up